Hello, Bible readers. It is September 1st, Tuesday, and we've read Leviticus 12, 13, and 14 today, and Matthew chapter 22, the rest of chapter 22. It's cleanliness and controversies. I knew it was two C words. Cleanliness in the Leviticus texts, controversies, four more of them in Matthew. And I think an important thing to know about the Leviticus chapters, which, by the way, I'm just going to keep encouraging you. When I saw what the what the Leviticus reading looked like and what we were to read about, I'm like, wow. But we got through it. And as my commentary says, while chapter 11 deals with the uncleanness that's outside humans in the external world, chapters 12 to 15 deal more with the uncleanness found within the human constitution itself and not in the outside environment. The problem of cleanness for a holy people is not merely one of contact with the outside world, but also pollution that comes from within. This double-edged confrontation with the demands of holiness also teaches Israel to be aware of the two sources from which sin can arise within and outside the person. So that's kind of the frame to look at this through. Also, the whole gender difference. I didn't love that a woman is unclean for like twice as long for a baby girl as she is for a baby boy. That's not great. And actually, I didn't only look in this commentary, but I looked in a couple others, and there's not a lot of good explanations about that. But to say this isn't the only thing Scripture has to say about women. Proverbs chapter 31 lifts up women as being on equal footing with men, being a head of household, super important to a household. So that's important to know. Obviously, they are different times, but at the same time, this isn't all that the Hebrew people are taught about gender. The leprosy chapter, I thought I'd say a word about leprosy too. The most difficult question for someone trying to understand this part of Scripture is whether the Hebrew term sera'at is to be equated with Hansen's disease. Now, Hansen was a Norwegian doctor who basically a couple hundred years ago, discovered and described what we think of as leprosy. So like when we read leprosy, we think of skin falling off people's bodies. And that's Hansen's disease. Does Sara'at only mean Hansen's disease? It's probably more like cancer. You know, when we say cancer, that covers lots of different blood cancer, skin cancer, a cancer of an organ. Cancer is a very big umbrella term. Leprosy is probably a very big umbrella term. And so when we talk about uncleanness, it's not just to do with this disease that most of us have never seen, but it would have covered a much larger class of diseases. Okay, now the Matthew texts, the four controversies. The controversies are taxes, resurrection, the greatest commandment, and Messiah. I want you to think about this. This part of Matthew teaches me this. I want you to think about the hottest hot button topics that we have in the church or in our culture. Race, sexuality. I don't know what four I'd name, but like really hot button stuff where there's hot opinions on both sides. Matthew takes the controversies of his day and goes after them. He quotes or puts words in, lifts up stories and parables about those topics from Jesus's point of view. Pay attention to God's things, not just Caesar's things. The controversies about resurrection, greatest commandment, and Messiah, those are about the interpretation of Scripture. And every time Jesus is seen as the authoritative guy with all the answers. The love commandment, love your neighbor as yourself, that gives shape and direction to the Torah. And then the next controversy is about how to interpret Psalm 110, which is about the Messiah. What does it mean to be Messiah? Who is Lord over whom? All of these things then are really showing how Matthew takes on the controversies of the day. Whenever the church in 2020 takes on the controversies of the day, we are simply doing what the gospel writers were doing since the beginning. Christians have always taken on the hot button topics, as hard and as difficult as that can be to do. I am one with my God. My God is with us, all of us, at all times and in all places.